Welcome to Life in the Bricks podcast, where we talk to real people about programs that enhance our community so that we can build bigger and better portfolios while providing options for our residents to achieve self-sufficiency. I'm your host, Tony McGinnis, Executive Director, CEO with the Huntsville Housing Authority. Welcome to Life in the Bricks podcast, where we talk to real people about real life issues that affect housing and our community. I'm super excited to have our co-host Fred McGinnis joining us today, but I'm more excited to have who I consider a superstar in the community, one of our former residents, but also one of our board members with the Huntsville Housing Authority, Miss Shaquila Willie, join us today. Shaquila, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here.
We're excited to have you as a part of our show today. So before we jump into our questions for today, I did have a couple of questions I wanted to ask you before I go to the kind of written questions. When I thought about bringing you on the show and thought about you being a board commissioner and kind of growing up in council court, when you got that call and they asked you to be on the board of the Huntsville Housing Authority, how was that? Did you jump right on it? Were you kind of surprised? Walk us through how you felt when you went through that experience.
Well, I was definitely caught off guard, definitely surprised. And honored to be in that position. But I feel like it was something that I was called to do. So I was speechless, and I had to go back and see why I deserve to be commissioner. Because sometimes you forget when people remind you, like, why do I deserve to be commissioner? And then I had to realize I grew up in public housing, the things I've done in the community, the time I've served in the community, and the success I've had in the community. So it was like, hey, it's your time to help others get to where where you are now.
Man, that's awesome. That's an awesome response. And, oftentimes we don't necessarily think that lived experience matters. But to me, I think that matters more than having studied experience, because when you live it, you can't put that in a book. You actually can put it in a book because you've actually experienced. So I think lived experience weighs heavy when you talk about public housing and the experiences and the lifelong lessons that you learn. So when we'll jump right into this, one of my first questions is, can you share with us a personal experience you had growing up in public housing and how it helped shape your life?
It's so many, because after you asked me to be on this podcast and I was like, what is the topic? And you were like, growing up in public housing. Well, public housing was one of the best times. You know that song, Best Part? That was one of the best parts of my life, growing up in public housing. So back to your question, one of my best experiences in public housing was, of course, Boys and Girls Club. Have Boys and Girls Club in council court. I mean, to have an apartment there was one thing, but to have a second home in the place that you lived, where people loved and supported you, was just another thing. That's where I found my purpose, through the Boys and Girls Club, because they helped me seek out some of the things that I didn't know that I was going to be as a little girl. And if you know my backstory, me and my siblings were all different. So Boys and Girls Club truly kind of pinpointed my purpose and who I was supposed to be in life. And that's why I started working with children. Didn't know I was a leader, and they helped me find that part of me, being a leader in the community. So one of the best parts of public housing was definitely the Boys and Girls Club.
Awesome. Can I say something? I think, Shaquila, that you're in a position, normally people don't get this until something's happened to them, in terms of, with the work you put in the community, with all the countless kids that you've helped. And then in the work that you're doing right now as a commissioner, no one gets those flowers, man, until it's too late. you know, and it's very few people that can sit there and celebrate this while they're doing it, and you're doing it. And that's a remarkable change from how we grew up and what we saw and how, you know, the things that we were taught. And you, just like me, just like you said, I was the same way when Tony asked that question on an earlier podcast, the Boys and Girls Club. Yeah. It helped us develop character. You know, it wasn't always pretty, but most of our memories were, you know what I mean? And we didn't always harp on the negative things. We took the positives out of it and kind of, we knew we wanted more. So it's kudos to you to be in that position. That's remarkable because people don't even understand it. Like, you're a commissioner on a board for the housing authority. That's a big deal.
It is.
Yeah. It is the housing authority that you grew up in.
Right.
Exactly. And it's such a big deal. I can't even digest it. Like, I can't even digest it. It's just like I'm still a part of the community. Like, you know, people see the title, but I just see it me doing what I'm supposed to be doing for God. I'm sorry. But that's, I mean, it's definitely an honor. So you gave me chills saying that, Fred.
No, it's true. It's true. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So we appreciate it and we applaud you. And again, just kind of giving you an opportunity to share your story today. I'm sure that there are going to be people who just kind of look back at this podcast and are able to give Shaquila her flowers, you know, because that's what it's all about. You know, you don't do it for that, right. But at the same time, you know, I think it's worth us talking about because it's a big deal. Because, you know, just based on our families, just different people in our families, how hard it is to make it out. But, you know, you were one to make it out. So my next question is, what are some of the biggest challenges you face while living in public housing, and how did you overcome them?
That's a good question. And I one of the challenges was not being in my community, but not being in my community. So like growing up in public housing, I was the kid who was always in everything. If the Boys and Girls Club developed a choir, I was in it. I was that kid who, I lived in public housing and I had siblings who always got in trouble, but I was that kid that was always involved in everything. The person who would not fight, the person who would not do nothing wrong. Not because I didn't want to get in trouble, but because I had a village behind me. But one of the biggest challenges was how this is making me think. One of the biggest challenges was finding the woman that I'm supposed to be despite where I was. Despite the situation, despite what I was going home to, my living situation and the community that I live in. So trying to balance those two out, because it was like when I went home in council court, I was one person, because you had to kind of, it was like I was in survival mode. I did not know. I'm being very vulnerable. I did not know when I was going to have to fight or what the living situation was when I got home, but I was another person when I went to school, but Boys and Girls Club was my safe place. So how I overcame that was at a young age, thankful that the Boys and Girls Club came and leaders like Dorothy Singleton came out there and Tori Shoulders came, because those are some of the things that helped me overcome the challenges, honestly, and Miss Vanessa as well. So just having the village, having people look out for me and my siblings while my mom was working, helped me overcome those many challenges. Because at a young age, at 12 in council court and under, we were out there I think I was out there from 9 to 12 just in council court. And so I didn't have a clue how to do it, but somebody did, and they were there for us. So
Awesome. You know, and you touched on something, having to be 2 or 3 different people as a young person, I think has allowed you to walk into any room and to be Shaquila today. And so, you know, that's a testament of just kind of growing through what you went through. And now you can walk into a room and Shaquila is enough. And that's powerful. And so I applaud you for that, because, you know, there are people who are considered very successful now that have to be 3 or 4 different people, but your life has allowed you to be one person and that person be enough. So we appreciate you for that.
That's got to feel good too, to be able to shed those other two. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. But the work you put in is what makes it feel so good.
Absolutely.
It's not necessary that you're successful. It's what you came from and the work you put in to get there. It's like being a chameleon. A chameleon, you gotta whatever you got to do to survive. You know what I mean? They're out there in the desert, wherever they live, and they change colors to survive. Well, now you don't have to do that because you're Shaquila.
Absolutely. Ali, that's great.
No, it's dope. Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey,
y'all right here.
Don't you start.
It's all good. It's all good. So this question right here gets everybody as well. It says, how did public housing impact your sense of community and the relationships you built with your with your neighbors? How did that shape you today?
Okay. Say that one more time for me.
I said, how did public housing impact your sense of community and the relationships you built with your neighbors?
I'm telling you, I have a lot of relationships because the world is, life is relational. But some long-lasting relationships, people I still talk to, people that still call you and say, how are you doing, without wanting something, or for public housing. I'm so serious. The people that were just across the walkway from me, we are some of the best of friends from public housing. So those were solid people because they seen you in the struggle. Like, they saw you when you didn't have nothing. They saw you when you used to be outside barefooted. They saw you, snotty nose or whatever, So those are some of the best relationships I've had. Like, we are CC strong. Like that's family. So I hope I answered the question right.
No, you did. I mean, that's exactly where I'm going with that, because Fred and I talk about it all the time, man. When you see somebody from, and when I say neighborhood, I'm just not talking about Mason Court.
Right.
I feel like when you grew up in public housing back in the time that we did, everybody's family. So when you see somebody, it's a connection that nobody else can even understand. I mean, you talk about genuine folks.
Right.
You have some genuine people who.
It's that nod of the head that you.
Man, yes.
Yeah, that means everything, because they see you, you see them, they doing. Yeah, it's that nod of the head. You ain't got to say nothing else.
It's so funny. I think I told Tony, Tony this. I was out somewhere, unmentioned, but I was out somewhere and somebody said, Shaquila Willie. I said, and then they know me. And it was Fred.
Right.
I said, see, when they call you by that, they know who you are. I said, they know me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's the kind of love that Boys and Girls Club and public housing gives you, literally.
Yeah. It ain't nothing like it. It really isn't. So were there any positive aspects or support system within housing that you found particularly valuable during your time there? You kind of touched on some of them, but do you want to expand on that?
Absolutely. We had a good property manager growing up at Council Court. Miss Vanessa was excellent. She was a community person. She did more than just collected rent. She was our mama. Like, she was the mama of the neighborhood. And it's nothing like, you see your mama doing one thing, or when you call to the office, it's usually not the best. You get a notice on the door or something like that. Vanessa was more than that. Vanessa would get out there and play volleyball with us in the field with Drake Towers. Vanessa would come to our programs. So when we went home, we knew it was home, even if mama wasn't there, because Miss Vanessa would stay wee hours just riding through the community, get out and walk in the community. So our property manager played a major role growing up in public housing. So that was positive aspect, that we had somebody that worked for Huntsville Housing that didn't just work there, but their heart was there. So to this day, like, Vanessa, just mad respect, much love for teaching me to be a woman and how to be a modest woman as well.
Yeah, I know during the times growing up in the projects out of Mason Court, and just in Bullock Terrace when we had to be displaced to get renovations done, stuff like that. Seems like the rent people were rent lady, rent man was the most respected person on the lot. You know what I mean? You know, and the fact that Miss Vanessa, I never had a chance to meet Miss Vanessa, or maybe I just can't remember. But the fact she's doing all that gives her even more respect. You know what I'm saying? That she's just showing that, hey, I'm just not the one coming collecting rent beginning of the month. I'm actually a part of this community.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's dope.
Yeah. And I tell you, man, landlords and property managers, we call them property managers now at the Housing Authority, they play a major role. And when I came back to the Housing Authority, the first time back in 2005, my property manager was there, and I'll never forget. You talk about giving people their flowers. We had a company function. Her name was Brenda Horton. And I said, Brenda, you don't know this, but there was one day when I was locked out of my my apartment, and I didn't know what to do. It was in the wee hours of the summer. It was hot outside. I didn't have a way of getting into the house, and I dreaded having to go to the property manager office to get a key. My mom was at work, and I was like, man, because they had so much respect for property managers.
Yes.
And I can remember going into that office, the little house at the top of the hill. It was super cool in there. She had a nice AC going. It was quiet. And I knocked on the little glass, and I, just nervously said, hey, Tony McGinnis, I live in 103F, and I'm locked out. And I was just waiting on her to scold me. But what she did is she treated me like a human being. She asked me questions. She knew who I was. She knew who my mom was. And she engaged in conversation with me and really just kind of helped tell me that anytime that I needed to come there, I could. And that was so valuable to me as a young kid, knowing that I had somebody else that was on my team. And I never forgot that. When I told her that, man, she just teared up and just cried. And I tell property managers that all the time now.
Yes.
You got to see people as more than just renters.
Right.
This is family.
Yes.
And you got to treat them as such, because although everybody don't have it together right now, you never know who you're talking to. You could be talking to the next CEO of the Huntsville Housing Authority.
Right.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And so that's good to hear that Miss Vanessa did that back in the day.
She did.
And she's still doing it today. So man, that's powerful. So let me ask you this. What are some of the misconceptions or stereotypes you think people often have of public housing residents? And how do you address those stereotypes?
Of course, the most common stereotype, poor people, single moms, crime. Those are the main ones. I'll just name those three. And the way I comment towards those, it's not everybody. And so we never know people's situation. And we never know where people come from. And that's not public housing. That's not the public housing I grew up in. I grew up in a public housing where everybody used to eat from a cool populated house. So you may have one or two people, and that's okay. You can have one or two people in any neighborhood, but we get the light shined on us, or that one snapshot moment of that one person or that one incident, and then the whole neighborhood is bad. But we used to be at Miss Susie's house every day getting a cool pop. And that's just not it. And then you would go in some people's home in the inside, and you wouldn't even know that it was bricks on the brick project on the outside. I mean, I've seen some of the cleanest homes in public housing. ride through now and see some of the yards, and they look like it was a personal landscaper there because of how they take care of it. But those are some of the things they say against them. And it's majority is single moms, but everybody needs help, especially moms.
Right.
So public housing was developed for that, and it is created to help parents and children get to where they need to go. Because look at me, it helped my mom. And so everybody need a little help, a little push. And so the stigma that they hold against it is just, like I said, the snapshot moment. But it's not who public housing is. It's just what people think of public housing.
Man, that's strong. That's strong. Fred, you got anything to add to that?
No, I like the snapshot moment. I'm gonna start using that. That's pretty profound, because it's never the whole story. Is always what the news can use for
That's it,
for eyes and views. So yeah, absolutely. Snapshot. You only get a snapshot of the real life in the projects. That's it.
What Ice Cube say back in the day, either they don't know, don't show
it, or they don't
care about what's going on in the hood. And they
I
get
just watched that the other night, Tony. It's on Netflix, like top 10, I think, right now.
Yeah, so they don't know, man, and so they don't show. And then you turn out and you have great people, man. And it's not just in Huntsville, man. This is a story all across the country, man. You got great people. Fred and I just had an opportunity to drive through New York, man, and see all those public housing facilities, man, in those boroughs up there, man. It's just a lot of great people have come through and are doing great things. Like Shaquila said, they just need help, and where you can take advantage.
Yep.
This right here, this is a fun question, or I think it is. Can you describe any memorable moments or stories from your time in public housing that kind of stand out?
Okay. Let's see. I have many memories. And you said funny?
Just that stand out more so than any. It don't have to be funny. It could be impactful, but just memorable moment in time.
Memorable. Gosh, there's so many memories. Trying to narrow it down. One memory public housing that I can remember. Gosh. Okay. I remember our bus driver. I went to Blossomwood, and most of our schools in Council Court we could walk to. You could walk to Huntsville High. You was gonna get chased by a dog if you walked to Huntsville High, but we used to walk to Huntsville High. We used to walk to Huntsville Middle. But Blossomwood was a little too far. So our bus driver, we had the most hilarious bus driver. Vanessa had set it up to where we had a bus driver that would pick the neighborhood kids up. It was a little white van, and every morning we had the best bus driver ever. I don't care what song just came out. He had us listening to music. Believe it or not, we didn't say I am beautiful affirmations. We didn't say I am strong affirmations, but he knew how to get us right and get us excited because he didn't know how we woke up. Some of us didn't eat. Some of us may have not had a good night's sleep because of what was going on in the house, but he knew how to get us started and get us excited for school. And I can remember me and Courtney and Jared and Samantha getting on that bus, and he could have any kind of music. I mean, we listened to old school R&B, rap, and I could just remember the fun times getting on the bus. Like we would run into the bus stop to make sure we got on that first load, because it was something about the first load. You had to get on the first load. Because by the second load, he was tired and he probably was fussing at us, so he ain't had that same kind of energy. We used to run to the bus stop to get on that first load to go to Blossomwood. And it's memories like that, like, gosh, good times. As a kid, you don't even know. But as you get older, you was like, dang, that was affirmation. Right. He got us pumped up for the day. Whether it was some Johnny Gill, some Luther Vandross, we didn't know nothing about none of that, but he had us listening to it.
But you had a good day at school, though, didn't you?
We had a good day at school. Yes. Went in laughing and smiling and doing a little two-step.
There you go.
And I tell you, man, I remember those vans. Mm-hmm. Those vans were, I think, from Community Action or somewhere. They provided vans to the neighborhood, and you had to have somebody that was willing to volunteer to drive.
And it was a resident that did it. He was a resident out there.
Yep. And I remember those vans. I remember the Watkins. They used to have a van. They were responsible for the van in Mason Court.
Yeah, down in the curve. Yeah.
So, you know, everybody had, and those, again, that's about connecting. Yeah. One of the things I try to tell people who come into the communities now, they think they're teaching folks how to be community. I'm like, man, we've always known how to be community. You know, we've known how to be family. This ain't something new. You're just kind of adding on to what we've always had. So those memories, man, those are powerful. Yeah. And so my next question is this: how has your experience in public housing shaped your perspective on housing inequality, homelessness, and other such natures? How has that affected you when you think about people who are homeless, the inequality of housing? With Huntsville, you know, I think we're building over the last couple of years, we built about 20,000 apartments, and none of them are affordable. How has growing up affected your perspective on some of that?
I will say I am very proud and glad and honored to grow up in public housing, because I don't think I was meant to be served from a silver spoon. And I'm glad I didn't. It's something about public housing. You have a different heart. I know our heart beat the same, probably bleed the same, whatever. But as far as how it affected me, I get so tongue twisted when I'm talking about housing authority. I didn't know I was like this. This is like how I get when I talk about housing authority and Boys and Girls Club, because it's so impactful to my life. Say it one more time, Tony. I just got emotional.
How was your experience influence your perspective on housing inequality and homelessness?
It has influenced my perspective of it, because not only have I lived in it, I have worked with the people in the community, and I'm still working with the people in the community. I'm getting kind of confused on how to answer this, because there's so much I want to say. Like, ask me a part of the question.
Okay, well, we'll just say, how does your experience, how has that influenced your perspective on the inequality of housing?
There you go.
How has my experience? Why am I getting tongue twisted on that?
How has your experience influenced your perspective on the inequality of housing? Okay. Or, you know, just break down, you know, again, how have, you know, you growing up in housing, now that you see, do you feel like it's equal playing field now when it comes to housing?
Okay. It is, but it isn't. It's a two-part question for me, because of how I came out of housing and how I utilize my resources. Mm-hmm. You make it what you want. Mm-hmm. It's different for everybody. Mm-hmm. So it can be equal parts, because it's equal to me because it helped me where I was. Huntsville Authority met me in the middle. Mm-hmm. It met my mom in the middle of what she was going through. My mom went through some tough stuff. And so Housing Authority met us in the middle. And so you can look at, is it not being equal to society, or you can look at it as your buildup, because it has helped me become successful. It was at my pace. Housing Authority taught me at my own pace, the pace I needed, because you can go out there and life can teach you really fast. But growing up in Housing Authority can teach you the soft skills and how to develop, and it's at your pace. And so for me, my experience, it is equal opportunity. You know, you have an opportunity to be successful, but what Housing Authority does is meet you where you are. Mm-hmm. So I think it is. Some may disagree, but for me, I think it is. It's a little bit harder getting there, but Housing Authority don't stop helping you get there. Mm-hmm. So,
So what about when you look at the homeless community now, and you know, you see all these people around here in Huntsville and other parts of the country, and you think about, I guess, can you appreciate just having a place for you and your siblings when you walk around and you drive around Huntsville and you see, man, there's a lot of people that don't even have what I had back in the day.
Absolutely. I mean, the homeless people are at the top of my prayers these days, because I'm like, even my kids, when we pray, the first thing they be saying, thank you for having a roof over our head, and we pray for the homeless. So absolutely. It saddens me every time I ride by Tent City. And just thankful for the opportunities that I've had. And even, I ride by the convenience store every day, and it could have been me. Still today, I'm one paycheck away from it being me and my kids. So, yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's strong. That's strong. We got a few more questions for you. You've been, I mean, it don't even look like time has gone by, but when I look at the clock, man, we've been in it. We've been in it.
Oh my gosh.
32 minutes, baby.
Yeah, we've been in it. But now this goes back to, you've lived it, you have that lived experience, and you've been on the board now for some times.
Mm-hmm.
So as a commissioner, and also as a former resident, what are some of the changes that you feel like need to be made to make it better?
There's quite a few, but the economy has changed, so I'll be fair. Things have changed tremendously in Huntsville, but some of the things that need to change for public housing, Huntsville Housing Authority, is I want to see the community again. And we do have just a little bit more of that, but we've had life challenges since COVID and everything. People have changed tremendously, mentally, physically, financially, since COVID. So the thing I would like to see is more community. We have a different generation of parents. They're not like the big moms that used to sit on the porch. So we have to approach that situation a little bit different than what we expect when we had the big moms and Miss Susie's and Miss Stiggers that used to sit on the porch. We don't have that anymore, but that's something that I would like to see. How we get there, I don't know, but I will continue to see how we can get there. Because this generation of mothers is different, even from my generation. So that's something I would like to see. Something that was my dream was to see Housing Authority look different in Huntsville, and it does look different. I'm excited about the new communities that are happening. Monrovia Flats, all of those. So that was one thing for it to look different in Huntsville. So congratulations to you, Tony. For that, it's starting to look a little bit different. I do want to see more single moms tell their testimony and become homeowners, because that's where Huntsville is going. People are becoming homeowners or buying property. So I would definitely like to see more of that in Huntsville Housing Authority as well. Those success stories like Dorothy Singleton, and getting, graduating from the FSS program. So, yep.
I'm glad you said that, because I think with the Housing Authority and where we're headed, I've kind of coined this, and I really kind of stole it from a guy that I was sitting down with. We focus on people, programs in our portfolio. It'll give us an opportunity to really meet the rubber, help the road meet the rubber. And what I think about that, we got to know who we're serving. And that's the people aspect. What are their income levels? Where are they right now as individuals? And I'm being very intentional about making sure that our people are identified. If our people are identified, then we can't get the wool thrown over our head when we start talking about affordable housing. Well, yeah, that's affordable housing that's needed in the city, but we got to be intentional about public housing, because that's where most of our people are. Then when we identify who the people are, now we know what kind of programs we can give them. and you mentioned the family self-sufficiency program, which is a huge program that we right now have close to 200 people in, and we're going to try to get more people in, because I think that's a game-changing program that allows families the opportunity to graduate, have an escrow account, and when they graduate, it gives them an opportunity to become homeowners, pay down some debt, do the things that they need to do to make sure that their families are taken care of. And then the last one is that portfolio. You talked about the new look of housing and Monrovia Flats and Stone Ridge Villas and some of the things that we're doing. So we're doing all that we can to make sure that we maximize those opportunities with developers. It's all about people, programs, and portfolio. And I think we're headed in the right direction. As long as we continue to have good people like yourself serving on the board, who are advocates, who know what we want, I think that we can continue to be one of the top agencies, not only in the state, but in the region, and then hopefully one day in the country. As we get ready to prepare to close, I got a couple of questions. One, what advice would you give the young Shaquila Willie?
Oh, that's a good question. Put your best foot forward, trust the process, and can't stop, won't stop. Don't stop till it's done.
Any regrets, Shaquila? Any regrets right now? Just knowing where you are, what we all been through. Any regrets?
I don't have any regrets. I don't.
Good.
Yep.
And this last question.
Headed though.
Huh? Go ahead.
That wasn't hard headed. That's about the only thing.
We all got that big old hard head.
Yes.
I'm still hard headed, right now. So
yeah, I can agree. I definitely can agree.
That I'm hard headed?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I tell you this, and I know Shaquila, you're one of my bosses, but when I tell you I'm proud of you and what you've done, and just being an inspiration to a lot of women and young people in the community, the Omila program that you started for young girls, your journey to better health, and just some of the things that you had to overcome. You've been a true inspiration to people who just kind of been on the sidelines looking, cheering you on silently. And so, man, I appreciate all that you are and who you are as an individual. And man, I'm just super proud of you. So as we close, I want to know, what advice would you give to policymakers, new board members who may come on after we're no longer here, and any advocates or policymakers? What would you tell them they need to do to help enhance neighborhoods and communities so that more people could have a chance at achieving their lifelong dreams?
Well, dang. Well, thank you for what you said, first of all. Definitely thank you, because I'm gonna start crying if I go any further. But to the people, I would say about Huntsville Housing Authority, what I will say is invest. And whatever your invest is, some people can invest money, some people can invest time. But the most important thing to understand, Huntsville Housing Authority and those 3 P's that Tony just mentioned: people, portrait, and
portfolio and program.
Portfolio and program is to invest time in it. Because invest time in people, then your heart gets in it, and you understand it in a different way. Investing money is something, is one thing, but when you invest your time, your heart gets involved, and then you have a different perspective of it. So to anyone who would like to join the board, or future people who will be a part of Huntsville Housing Authority, it's the best thing. I am a result of it. I am proud to say I grew up in public housing. At one point, people didn't like to say they were from public housing, but today in 2023, I am proud to say that I grew up in public housing. I'm proud to say that Huntsville Housing Authority gave me an opportunity to become the woman I am. I grew up in public housing with a mom of 5 children who didn't have it all. And we all went separate ways in life. And I ended up having to be on the program as well. But the program also gave me a degree. I'm an entrepreneur now. I'm a basketball coach. I have my own nonprofit. So if you're willing to invest, you're investing in someone like me. You're investing in someone who just needs the opportunity and just needs a little push and a little help. So that's what I would say to someone who would see this video and they have their own stigma about housing authority. I am housing authority, a product of housing authority.
Awesome.
Me too.
Awesome.
We all are.
Man, this has been awesome. It's been great spending some time with you.
Yeah.
Just look forward to bigger and greater things. I know it's, your slogan, can't stop, won't stop. We're going to keep pushing. And again, to those who are listening, you can share this on all your social media platforms. Look for us in the future. I think we're going to end the show with, we're going to end the year with a gentleman that grew up in public housing again, who's now running the Boys and Girls Club, Patrick Wynn. And so that's how we're going to end our year. Share this on all your social media platforms. Again, we're just trying to encourage people to do their best. And we're looking forward to a great 2024. I want to thank my co-host, Fred, for being here. And behind the scenes, we call her our studio producer, Lakeisha Willer, for doing what she do. And thank you for all that y'all done. This has been a great show.
Good job, Shaquila.
Thank you.
Good job, Tony.
Thank you, Fred. See y'all.
We've come to the end of the podcast today. Please share the link on all your social media platforms. We hope that you all will join us again next time. Until then, keep serving and keep pushing. This has been another amazing episode of Life in the Bricks podcast. Peace.